All right. Good afternoon, evening, people. I hope you're well, depending on where you are. My name is Christopher Andrews. Tonight we're doing a little presentation on eating for a healthy heart and understanding cardiovascular disease and seeing what we can do from a near life perspective to help maintain the health of our cardiovascular system. So the topic is eating for a healthy heart, nutritious food choices to support wellness and cardiovascular disease. Sorry, to support cardiovascular wellness, not cardiovascular disease. Don't want to support that. All right. So just to understand a little bit about cardiovascular diseases. So different types of cardiovascular diseases, they include coronary artery disease. So that's basically when you've got your heart muscle, the circulatory system of the heart muscle starts to, for lack of a better word, clog up with fatty streaks, atherosclerosis in the heart muscle itself, which can lead to blockages, either partial or total blockages of different parts of the blood vessel system. And of course, you may feel that or know people who've had massive heart attacks or heart attacks in general as a result of that blockage. And angina is a preliminary step of that as well. So basically where you start to feel that shortness of breath, that tightening in the chest can be a direct result of the blockages in the arteries. Stroke, which is more of a brain attack, if you like, or a heart attack in the brain, where basically the blood vessels in the brain, inside the skull, start to have the same issues as what's happening in the coronary artery disease, where the blockages are reducing the blood flow into the brain itself. Heart failure, which is basically when the heart has to pump harder, at least initially, and over time starts to weaken because of just basically general fatigue and weakness in the heart muscle itself. And that can lead to what we call congestive heart failure, where the blood starts to pool in your lung tissue and leads to hardness of breathing. And then, of course, you've also got arrhythmias, where basically the heart starts to beat irregularly. And that means that the blood in the heart can't be evacuated from the heart muscle itself. So it starts to pool. And when blood starts to pool, that can lead to, blood clots forming in the blood as well, which is not a good thing, because when blood starts to clot, that can lead to clots elsewhere in the body. So they're the types of different types of cardiovascular disease. There are what we call modifiable risk factors. So things like blood pressure. So if you suffer from high blood pressure, trying to get that back down under control. Cholesterol levels, if you have high blood cholesterol, and trying to get that managed appropriately. Reducing or eliminating smoking. If you have type 2 diabetes or carrying extra body fat, especially abdominal obesity, that can lead to increased risk of cardiovascular disease, and also just inactivity in general. So if you're not active throughout the day, your risk of heart disease goes up. So they are all modifiable, meaning that we have some level of control over those. So you can, to a large degree, help regulate and reduce your risk of heart disease by regulating those modifiable risk factors. Non-modifiable risk factors are things that we don't have control over, and they include age. So as we get older, just with general wear and tear, our body starts to become increased risk of heart disease. Gender, so different times. So for example, women pre-menopause have generally low rates of heart disease, but once they go through the menopause, their rates of heart disease can increase quite significantly. And of course, genetics. So if you've got a family history of heart disease in your family, so your mum or dad or brothers and sisters have had heart disease, then there's a risk that you will have that as well. So those, unfortunately, we can't escape those. They are risk factors that, are what we have been cursed with from our genetics perspective. But again, nutrition can play a major role in helping reduce the risk of heart disease overall. So there's an importance of risk awareness, understanding risk factors, which help aid with prevention and early intervention for heart health. So if we look at some of the statistics between Australia and New Zealand, so in Australia, we see that approximately 600,000 Australians aged 18 and over have had coronary heart disease at some point in their lives in 2022. Acute coronary events, so things like heart attacks or strokes, They can occur, well, they've been estimated to occur in just under 60,000 people, aged 25 years and over. And that equates to about 156 events every day. Hospitalizations, we've got about 148,000 people being admitted to hospital in 2021, 2022 for cardiovascular related diseases, accounting for 1.3% of all hospitalizations and deaths. So cardiovascular disease accounted for 18,600 deaths in 2022, which is just under 10% of all deaths in that year. In New Zealand, the figures, the information is a little bit harder to find. So I've gone to the National Heart Foundation in New Zealand, and they've shown or state that approximately 180,000 New Zealanders are currently living with heart disease in 2023. And every 90 minutes, one New Zealander dies from heart disease. And deaths, 1 in 3 deaths in New Zealand are caused by cardiovascular disease. But there's good news, and that is that nutrition plays a very important role in helping reduce your risk of cardiovascular disease. So from a dietary perspective, what you should be trying to do, or people in general should be trying to do, is eat a diet rich in fruits, vegetables, legumes, whole grains, and lean protein sources. Minimize or avoid processed foods where possible, especially trans fats, which is basically fats that have been prepared so that they last long on the in foods last long on the shelf, and of course trying to reduce sugar sweetened. That shouldn't be vegetables, that should be sugar sweetened drinks. My apologies on that. So examples of good healthy eating is Mediterranean diet, or the Mediterranean diet way of eating, which I'll talk about in a little bit more in a moment. The DASH, which is the dietary approaches to help reduce heart hypertension, and of course plant-based diets have all been proven to have cardiovascular effects. Special considerations, so the effects of diet on the gut microbiome and cardiovascular health is a new path that's being investigated for improving cardiometabolic risk factors. But emerging diets like ketogenic diets and intermittent fasting, you may hear people talk about the benefits of those from potentially a weight loss perspective, but they have got no long-term heart protective evidence at this stage. So heart healthy eating is centered around whole foods, predominantly plant-based foods. So when I spoke about the Mediterranean diet, we're talking about fatty fish, olive oil, but mostly you're focused on plant foods. So it's a plant predominant diet. Lots of fruits and vegetables, whole grains, some nuts and seeds. That's going to be your best, I guess, tactic for improving your cardiovascular health going forward. So some of the key nutrients that help with the cardiovascular health is fiber. So fiber obviously helps lower cholesterol and supports digestion. So your best food sources for fiber are going to be your whole grains, fruits, vegetables, and legumes. Carotenoids, so they have an antioxidant action, reducing inflammation. Vitamin E and coenzyme Q10 in particular. So just to duck into those into a little bit more detail, the high fiber foods, whole grains, legumes, fruits, vegetables, and nuts and seeds to a lower degree. So, trying to consume at least 5 servings of those foods on a daily basis would be a good benefit. So fiber from if you're trying to look at numbers, you're looking at a minimum of 28 grams of fiber intake per day. And a lot of people, especially in Australia and New Zealand, really do struggle on eating that quantity of fiber. And that amount of fiber is actually at the lower end of what you should be consuming. Personally, I'd be pushing for higher levels of fiber intake than that in a day. But that's the general recommendation is 28 to 30 grams of fiber per day, per person. The carotenoids, which are your antioxidant-rich foods, especially the foods, as you can see in the picture here, your leafy greens, your orange and your reds, those foods are very rich in a whole range of fat-soluble antioxidants known as the carotenoid family. They help support cardiovascular health by that antioxidant protective action. So carrots, tomatoes, leafy greens, sweet potatoes, peaches, strawberries, they're going to be particularly rich in your carotenoid nutrients. Coenzyme Q10, vitamin E, and garlic. So they support heart health by improving energy production, especially CoQ10. They reduce oxidative damage in the form of vitamin E, and they also help maintain healthy blood pressure with your garlic intake. So whole grains again are going to be a very good source of both coenzyme Q10 and vitamin E. Your fatty fish is a really good source of coenzyme Q10. Avocado, olive oil, nuts and seeds is a good source of vitamin E. And of course, to get your intake of garlic, you need to consume garlic. So lifestyle habits for heart health, let's look at those in particular. So exercise, as I mentioned earlier on, if you're inactive throughout the day, your risk of heart disease definitely increases. So from if you can find 150 minutes, 30 minutes a day, that will help improve your cardiovascular fitness. It helps also maintain a good, healthy blood pressure level. Stress management, so reducing blood pressure, but also improves your mood. So mindfulness, meditation, getting outside and going for a walk in nature if you can. Sleep hygiene. Every day I'm hearing more and more of the importance of sleep hygiene, getting a good good amount of sleep, 7 to 9 hours on a consistent basis. Will help regulate your recovery and helps regulate your hormone levels and maintain cardiovascular health. And of course, avoiding, or in the case of alcohol, minimizing your intake of alcohol. So avoiding smoking and minimizing alcohol intake. Though both those, if you do them in high quantities, will increase your risk of cardiovascular disease risk for sure. So some key takeaways on the motivation. So preventable heart disease. Heart disease is a major concern, obviously, but largely preventable through informed choices and lifestyle changes. Nutrition's protective role. So key things to focus on is whole foods like whole grains, legumes, vegetables, garlic and allium vegetables in particular, fruits to provide fiber, carotenoids, vitamin E, coenzyme Q10, and essential fatty acids to help protect cardiovascular health. From a healthy lifestyle perspective, regular exercise, stress management, sleep quality, and avoiding smoking to improve heart health. And empowerment in action, so small but sustainable daily changes that will help empower yourself to improve heart health over the long term. So let's take a change now and look at some of the near-life products that are going to be very beneficial from a cardiovascular health perspective. The first one on the list here is an all-natural fiber. I mentioned earlier on that a lot of people really do struggle getting an adequate intake of fiber in their day. So all-natural fiber is a very good way of supplementing a person's fiber intake with the equivalent of at least 2 apples in a serving. So it provides about 6 grams of fiber per serving. So it promotes regularity, tastes great on its own, and it will help, diets in general will help support heart health. So the key ingredients in the all-natural fiber, it has a whole whey milk protein base. It's the key fiber sources is the neopolyfiber, which is soy fiber, whole oat fiber, and acerola fiber. Psyllium seed, which is an excellent source of what we refer to as soluble fiber, pea fiber, and a little bit of fructose and to help with the sweetness of it. Soy fiber, apple fiber, banana fiber, they all help boost that fiber intake. So as you can see there, per dose, you're talking about 5 grams of fiber per dose. 1 gram of soluble and 5 grams of insoluble fiber in the all-natural fiber source. Carotenoid complex, so it's a broad spectrum of whole food derived carotenoids from carrots, tomatoes, spinach, capsicum, as we call it here in Australia and New Zealand, strawberries, apricots, and peaches. So proven by the USDA researchers to boost immune capacity, but in particular, when it comes to cardiovascular health, it helps reduce oxidation of blood cholesterol levels. So a very important source of antioxidant nutrients to help maintain blood health and cardiovascular health. So the main ingredients of carotenoid complex, so you've got your carrot seed oil, your paprika or capsicum extract, tomato extract as a source of lycopene, spinach extract, and also your apricot, peach, and strawberry as your fruit sources of those carotenoids. Vitamin E is added as a natural antioxidant, and of course, it comes in an olive oil base to help absorb with the absorption of those carotenoids, because being fat-soluble nutrients, you need that olive oil base or that fat base to help with their absorption. Coenzyme Q10, so the Neolife CoQ10 product is an excellent source of CoQ10 for maintaining the energy production in the heart muscle itself. So the heart, being a muscle, needs to contract, and it can contract constantly throughout your life. And as a result of that, it uses a lot of energy, or requires a lot of energy to maintain that physical movement that it has. So unfortunately, though, as we get older, our coenzyme Q10 levels in our body reduces significantly. So by the time you've reached 50 years of age, your natural levels of coenzyme Q10 in the body have reduced at least by about 50%. So the CoQ10 Neolife product has a number of key ingredients in it. So it's got the rice bran oil as a source of key phytosterols, the coenzyme Q10 itself, so it's a 50 milligram dose per capsule. L-cysteine is fortified. L-cysteine is actually a rate-limiting amino acid that is involved in the production of glutathione. So glutathione is one of the body's natural, what we call endogenous antioxidants. So that, combined with CoQ10, has a very important role to play in cardiovascular health. And the other ingredients there, so coconut oil, lecithin, and the resveratrol from the grape skin extract to help with that additional antioxidant support. Salmon oil plus is a very important product for cardiovascular health. It's a very good source of omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3 fatty acids in particular have a very important role to play in cardiovascular health. So, and unfortunately, from a dietary perspective, unless you're consuming fatty fish on a regular basis, you're not going to be, it's going to be quite a challenge to get good levels of omega-3s in your diet. So ensuring a good source of omega-3s. So salmon oil is really beneficial because fatty fish that you get through the food supply, we're now finding it's being contaminated with heavy metals such as lead and mercury. It can also now be a source of these microplastics that you may be hearing more about in the news as well. So taking a concentrated source of omega-3s in the form of a fish oil concentrate like the salmon oil plus is actually very beneficial, because it helps remove a lot of the risk of the unwanted contaminants that you may also get. So each capsule is a combination of salmon oil plus also tuna and sardines and anchovies. And the reason why it's fortified with those additional fish oil sources is to help boost the omega-3 content. So you'll see that every capsule will give you 160 milligrams of DHA and 153 milligrams of EPA. So in total, it's 355 milligrams per capsule of those beneficial omega-3 fatty acids. And the EPA and DHA in particular are important because they're the ones that we know have the main roles to play being in cardiovascular health in the human body. So garlic allium complex. So it provides a spectrum of allium vegetables, but in particular garlic. And it is the allicin that is very important for your cardiovascular health and health in general. So the food sources you get in garlic allium complex are obviously your garlic, you've got onion concentrate, leek powder, and also a rosemary source as an additional antioxidant support there, and chive as well. So the allicin is standardized to 4,200 micrograms per 2-tablet dosage. It's an enteric-coated tablet, and the reason for that is because it helps protect the allicin from being broken down by the stomach acid. So you really do need that protective coating that you need. So that's why they say do not chew the tablets. Partly is because of the enteric coating. Tray is a very beneficial product for cardiovascular health. Very rich in antioxidants from your pomegranate and acai and green tea extracts, and there's a whole range of flavonoid-rich fruit and vegetable sources in that formulation too as well. So things like white grape juice concentrate, berry extract from blueberry, and elderberry, cranberry, and blackcurrant, and red grape juice concentrate as well as bilberry. Alpha lipoic acid adds additional antioxidant support, as well as the resveratrol from grape skin extract. So again, and very tasty, conveniently, people want to take that product. Vitamin E complex. So you can find vitamin E on the shelf in retail stores, but you do not find a vitamin E complex that has all 8 members of the vitamin E family. So first of all, you will get a wheat germ oil concentrate as a major source of the vitamin E. It contains the entire family of vitamin E family, so that all 4 members of the tocopherol and tocotrienol family. So not just the D-alpha, which you often find in the more generic brands of vitamin E supplements. And unfortunately, when you take any one of those tocopherols in high doses without the balance of the other family members, that is not a beneficial situation to be in. So because they all work like a team, and that whole food plant-based source that you get in the vitamin E complex is very beneficial for giving you that full family protective benefit. So yes, it does contain D-alpha tocopherol, but the wheat germ oil provides the added benefit of giving you those additional tocopherols, and the tocopherols concentrate mixed gives you also the tocopherols and tocotrienols in that formulation. Just to finish off, I'd like to just give you some references here. So for further information, and the source of a lot of the information I received when when I was preparing this tonight's presentation, Heart Foundation of Australia, so good guidelines, tools, and support on nutrition, exercise, and prevention. The Heart Foundation of New Zealand, the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare provides detailed information on cardiovascular disease statistics and health condition reports, and of course the World Health Federation as a global organization that has a lot to do with heart health advocacy, research, and education. So I'd like to thank you for attending. I hope you found that of interest tonight, and until next time, good health and good cardiovascular health.